We are finally here. Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 260. Week 1 NFL gambling show. If you're new to the pod, every Thursday, first half of the show we do storylines, second half of the show we do gambling lines. And I've been doing this in one form or another my entire broadcast career. Last year was my first documented sub 500 season. We didn't get crushed, but we were still sub 500. We have to own it. 42, 46, and 4 was our ultimate record. I do think we clawed out a bit in the postseason because we were certainly, there were 13 playoff games. We went 4-0 with the Chiefs because they covered against the Dolphins, and then they were underdogs in every other game. So they won every game, so they obviously covered those. But either way, we lost money last year. We lost money on our futures. We lost money on the season bets, and that doesn't even get into Damonza, who had a stretch of America's worst teasers. He's learned his lesson. He's gonna do better. Damonza's better at everything pod related except for earpiece cord management. That one he has somehow gotten far worse on, but everything else he's crushing, and he looks great. I'm wearing my Stroud's Kansas City, one of my favorite restaurants in the world, t-shirt. We actually told a story oddly about Stroud's a couple podcasts ago. I'm also wearing red Air Force Ones because the Chiefs season kicks off today. At the parade last year, we have so much video and cool stuff from the parade last year, but obviously there was a tragedy, so we didn't share any of it. But I was walking around Damonza with the red Air Force One on my left foot and a yellow Air Force One on my right foot. Just I bought two.
That's something.
It was great. It was elite.
Ronald.
It was elite. I got a new for the parade. I got a new Louis Vuitton fleece. That was actually Chiefs colors, unlike the previous years. But that's all lost to history. Such is life. Okay. Before we get to the gambling, let's get to what missed the cut. Caitlin Clark continues elite play. She now has another triple-double. The only two by rookies in WNBA history, I believe, are Caitlin Clark this season, 24-10-10, as the Fever win again. Steph Curry talking about potentially owning an NBA team, and Bill Belichick joins Instagram, which is something other people are so much more interested in than I am. But, Damonza, we are 9 hours and 40-ish minutes away from kickoff of the NFL season. It is my hometown team, my favorite team, against your adopted team, the Baltimore Ravens. It is a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, and it is how the NFL is starting the season. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are opening up for the fourth time in 8 years. They're 2-1 in those games, by the way. And as you said, it's an AFC rematch. Both teams have had relatively pretty good off seasons compared to all the good teams. You call this a no-lose for Kansas City. So what do you think are going to be the biggest takeaways from this game?
Well, the reason I said it's a no-lose, to be clear, is I don't see a scenario, obviously, let's just bar injury from it, bar devastating injury. For all of our analysis about all these games across the board in the NFL, throw it in the trash if a key player suffers a season-ending injury. That obviously, changes everybody's outlook. But aside from that, even if the Chiefs lose, no one's going to lose faith in them. No one with a brain is going to lose faith in them. And if they win, it's now Mahomes 5-1 against Lamar. It's back-to-back losses for the Ravens against the Chiefs, one in Baltimore, one in Kansas City. But I think the story for tonight is going to be how dominant the Chiefs' offense looks once again. So I think last year muddied the waters a bit in people's brain about how elite early in the year Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes offenses have been. Here is prior to last year, Patrick Mahomes' 5 career week ones. Week 1, his first year as a starter. 250 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, a 128 rating in a win. Week 1, his second year as a starter. 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a 143 rating in a win. Year 3 as a starter. Only 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 123 rating in a win. Year 4 as a starter. 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a 131 rating in a win. Year 5 as a starter. 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, a 144 rating in a win. And then last year, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 78 rating in a loss. Prior to last year, the average Mahomes' first game of the season was 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, a 130 rating, and the Chiefs averaged 35 points per game. That was the average performance for his whole career. I have no reason to believe it's going to be, I don't know if it'll be 35 points and a laser show against an elite Baltimore team, but the Chiefs take the preseason so seriously. Andy Reid extra time to prepare. Baltimore new pieces on defense. Baltimore new defensive coordinator. If your Ravens, Damonza, are going to have a chance in this game, they're going to have to score 30 points. That's where I come out on this. I do not think it's going to be anything close to the script of last year's AFC Championship game where it was a race to 20 and neither team got there. 17-10, man. The Chiefs scored all the points they needed in that game on their opening 2 drives.
Yeah.
Which was crazy given how elite Baltimore's offense was all year. I also think, real quick, because I'm going to give the Chiefs angle, then I want to ask you some Ravens questions. Just the threat of Xavier Worthy out on the field is going to open things up so much for Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce over the middle. There was no speed that people were afraid of on the Chiefs last year. They bracketed Kelce. They kept a cloud over him when they wanted to, and he still had damn near 1,000 yards and obviously a dominant playoff run. But a lot of that was impromptu, off script, he and Mahomes mind meld stuff, not, oh, this guy's running open. This year he's going to be running open. I also think Isaiah Pacheco is one of the more, at this point, underrated backs in football. I do think one of the more underrated stories in football this year is the Chiefs' starting left tackle is a rookie second-round pick. The kid from BYU, Kingsley, I might mispronounce his last name, Suamata. Apologies if I do. Now, they love him, and Andy has, a great history with BYU, but that's a big responsibility. You have a rookie second-rounder protecting Mahomes' blind side. Flip side of that coin is, if that kid's good, that is $30 million of cap savings every year for the next 4 years. If you have a starting caliber left tackle, maybe not $30 million cap saving, call it $25 million, on a second-round pick salary for the next 4 years, that is so incredibly valuable. So there's that piece of it. Now to the Ravens. Their big offseason addition was Derrick Henry. Damonza, they obviously replaced some offensive linemen. Everything else offensively is basically the same. The question I have for you is this. The knock on the Ravens in the AFC Championship game was, man, they didn't run the ball.
Yeah.
6 runs by running backs. They now add Derrick Henry. However, Lamar is slimmed down. Lamar's the defending MVP. Lamar's playing, Patrick Mahomes. The whole narrative going into last season was we're going to show Lamar can be elite as a passer. What do you want? Forget what you think is going to happen. What do you want the Ravens' approach to be? Lean into the run, try to pound the Chiefs, or have Lamar drop back, or a little mix? Like, how do you want this game to play out, and how do you see it playing out?
I think we should take what the defense gives us. If Lamar wants to run, then he should be able to run. I'm cool with them doing whatever it is to get the win. I don't really prefer any type, but yeah, I think that they'll go out and let Lamar Jackson play football. I don't think that they're gonna try to put any chains on him, so to speak, like they did last year. But yeah.
Do you so Brew, you and Brew are the two biggest Ravens folks in my life. Brew is incredibly high on the Derrick Henry edition. I don't love aging running backs on another team. Even though Derrick Henry's a Hall of Fame caliber player, Derrick Henry, to be fair to him, I'm gonna throw a number at you real quick. Derrick Henry in his career against Kansas City has been a dominant player. Derrick Henry against the Chiefs in the regular season, 4 games. By the way, 3-1 against the Chiefs in his career with the Titans in the regular season, which is crazy.
That's pretty crazy,
About it. Averaging 111 yards per game. That's in the regular season. His one playoff game against Kansas City. You know what? That's wrong. He actually has 2 playoff games against Kansas City because he has one in the pre-Mahomes era. His first one against Kansas City, 156 yards and a touchdown in a win. His second one against Kansas City, 69 yards and a touchdown in the AFC Championship game loss. But that does mean Derrick Henry's 4-2 in his career, including a playoff win against the Chiefs. I forgot that he was on the Titans team that beat Kansas City in the pre-Mahomes era.
He is up there
that was the
for
last
a running back as far as age. If he played against Chiefs, then I didn't know he was that. That age.
No, so I think he turns 31 during the season. He turns 31 in January 4th. So he's 30 all year. You know what I mean? He'll be 31 right at the end of the season.
The Derrick Henry thing, I've always been a little, I feel like it's a little gluttonous. I was telling Matt, like it's like too much of one good thing, but I do think it gives them the ability to confuse the defense. I think Lamar Jackson's really good at that, like fake handoff, like the RPO or whatever you want to call it. I think he's really good at making it seem like, is he passing here or is he giving it off or is he going to pass it? But yeah, no, I like Derrick Henry back there, but I hope it works the way it should. It should work looking at it on paper, but I could see it getting a little tricky. But yeah.
So here's the concern for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, if we just go through his career, 4 years ago, 2,000 yards, 126 yards per game, 5.4 yards per carry. One of the best seasons any running backs had in the history of football. The following year, missed half the season with injury. Still, though, when he played, 117 yards per game, but from 5.4 yards per carry to 4.3 yards per carry. 2 years ago, played the whole year, 96 yards per game, still really good, and 4.4 yards per carry. Last year, played the whole year, 68 yards per game, 4.2 yards per carry. Derrick Henry has led the NFL in rushing attempts 4 of the last 5 years. It is just, now, Adrian Peterson was like that, and Adrian Peterson had a 1,500-yard season, I think, at age 33. So, some guys are just different.
And also, he's also got the size on him. That's the other thing that I feel like is a pro for him. He's a big dude. So like he's very durable.
Well, no, I mean he's massive. He's durable and he's massive. If the Ravens have still, prime-ish Derrick Henry, it's obviously a massive asset. I'm skeptical of that. Tonight we'll see, because the Chiefs, as great as the defense was last year, their run defense has never been great. Their pass defense was out of this world last year. The run defense hasn't always been great. All right, let's go to the next game.
So my guy Jordan Love's looking to capitalize on the end of that last season, and Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts are looking to prove that offseason didn't kill them. Does any team need a hot start to their season more than the Eagles?
So I think this is pretty obvious that the Eagles have to unequivocally start the season well, or else I think Sirianni could be fired early. So the Eagles are in Brazil for the Packers game. Everyone on the Eagles is complaining about going to Brazil. They then host the Falcons. Now they get a little extra rest, but they are, it's a long flight, obviously. They absolutely could start 0-2. You start 0-2, and then you're at the Saints, at the Bucs, host the Browns. Man, you better sweep that set. If an Eagles team that barely lost it all 2 years ago, last year started 10-1, and now has lost 6 of 7 games, you've already fired both coordinators. I happen to believe the loss of Jason Kelce is absolutely massive. For my purposes, there is no team that needs a hotter start in the NFL this year than Philadelphia. And I don't like, and listen, I'm not as high on the Packers as you are, but I am not bullish on the Eagles in this game. That game might show up in the gambling section of the show, so we'll wait a moment to get further into it.
Would you put money on Sirianni being the first head coach to be fired this year?
So the problem with that is Dennis Allen exists. So Dennis Allen and the Saints, the Saints, they do get the Panthers in week 1, but week 2 they're out the Cowboys. Week 3 they're home for Philly. Week 4 they're at the Falcons. Week 5 they're at the Chiefs. Week 6 they're home for the Bucs. They could start 1-5. And then so Dennis Allen's seat is very hot, and Bobby Saleh's seat is warm adjacent. And so I don't know about first coach fired, but he's on the very short list in my opinion.
Okay.
The very short list. And it's not so much that I think like McCarthy's on the hot seat as well, but I don't think he's going to get fired during the year. For Sirianni McCarthy, it's more, are you going to be brought back next year than it is, are you going to be fired early? But Sirianni absolutely could be fired during the season if it starts going poorly. All right, let's go to the Cowboys here.
So Dallas is Dallas is going into the good. All right, yeah, Dallas is going into the season without Dak extended, which means that the chip on Dak's shoulder will probably be the biggest it's ever been. So do you think we're in for Dak's best year ever, or was Jerry Jones seeing something with not extending him and is waiting for his value to go down?
Well, his value's not going to go down. I think Jerry wants to see. Listen, Dak is going. I've been telling you guys all offseason. The offers the Cowboys have been making Dak are offers they know he will not accept because they are skeptical on whether or not Dak Prescott, at $60+ million a year without superstar talent around him, can be a championship caliber quarterback, and that if they're better off resetting the quarterback salary scale with a rookie contract quarterback, I think they hoped that Trey Lance was going to show more than he did and be able to keep and retain star players on both sides of the ball. I do think here is the glass half full version for the Cowboys this year. Dak and Mike McCarthy have been elite throughout their careers in the regular season and then tightened up and not coached or played their best come the postseason. Again, I'm not even saying I predict this, but this is just maybe a different way to look at it. Maybe the fact that they both know they're likely going to be somewhere else next year, that they don't have long-term deals is almost freeing. And that come the playoffs, because I think the Cowboys will be in the playoffs, there's almost a, nothing to lose mentality. Because no matter what Dak does this year, he's getting $65 million a year next year. That's what he's getting. I know people have a hard time wrapping their minds around it. Dak Prescott, if he wants to, this offseason, is going to sign a 3-year, $200 million contract that's $67 million a year, basically fully guaranteed. If he wants it, that'll be there. A 4-year, $260 million contract that's $65 million a year will be there if he wants it. And so, I think I don't blame the Cowboys for not wanting to pay Dak Prescott $65 million a year. I blame them for giving him his previous contract that gave him a no tag and no trade clause. So they're in this position where they might lose their franchise quarterback for no reason whatsoever. What's your follow-up here, Damonza?
Do you think any Week 1 game has the potential for a more overreaction?
This is high on the list, but so is the next game we're going to talk about. The fact that this game's going to be Tom Brady's first broadcast, all of it. Here's where I don't think people will overreact. If the Cowboys win because their defense dominates the Browns and Deshaun Watson, I don't think people are going to overreact to that. I think people are just going to be like, the Browns offense is going to be in trouble. If the Cowboys lose and they can't run the ball and, their 2 rookie offensive linemen get beat up by that Browns defensive front, then I think people will probably at least slightly overreact. All right, let's get to the last game before we get to the gambling show.
So there is one holdout left in the NFL, and that is Hassan Reddick with the Jets. Chris Jones held out Week 1 last year, and the Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl, so it can be done. But you're very down on the Jets. Is this a no big deal or a sign for bigger problems?
Oh, I think it's a sign of bigger problems that the only guy who hasn't shown up is a guy you traded for. I think it's an organizational issue. And I think the Jets defense right now is a touch overrated. Doesn't mean they're not good, but a touch overrated because I don't love their edge spot. They don't love their edge spot, guys. They drafted Will McDonald in the first round a year ago. He hasn't hit yet. We'll see. They traded for Hassan Reddick because they knew they needed help there. Hassan Reddick hasn't shown up. And I thought it was a bad decision by Bob Saleh to not play Aaron at all in the preseason. Now, he has played 4 snaps of real football since January of 23. In the last 19 months before this season starts. I think that's a mistake. In the last 21 months, I guess. I think flatly it's a mistake. I am fading. A lot of smart people love the Jets. Peter Schrager has Aaron Rodgers winning league MVP. Coach Mangini has the Jets in the playoffs. Brew has them winning the division. A lot of people love the Jets. 8 wins. 8 wins, maybe a coaching change, and then Rodgers, a real moment where Rodgers decides if he wants to keep playing. That's my projection for the Jets. I don't trust the health of the offensive line. I don't trust the head coach. I don't trust the organization. I do trust that the offensive coordinator doesn't know what he's doing, and I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is still good. So I'll put more chips into the middle of the table that, as you would say, Damonza, the Jets are going to be mid. Just, they're going to be fine. And I don't think Rodgers is all of a sudden going to revert back to 38-year-old pre-torn Achilles Aaron Rodgers. I think he's more likely to look like 39-year-old pre-torn Achilles Aaron Rodgers, who wasn't good enough. They were 8-9 and lost a home game at the end of the year to Detroit. And this is a guy who turns 41 years old in 3 months. Or 3 months. Good luck with that. We'll see how it works out. Our gambling show, all 5 of our bets and Damonza's return to triumphant teasers. Next, What's Right? Welcome back in. What's Right with Nick Wright? And it is now time for our gambling show. Damonza, take it away.
Yes, it's the first Thursday of football season, so you know what time it is. It's time for the return of the What's Right gambling show. Last year, the process, TM, took a bit of a hit. You went 42, 46, and 2 in the regular season. What changes have you made to the process, TM, this year to turn things around?
The TM.
I know it's
just
trademark, but I know what it means. I just wanted to add the TM.
No, that's what I
gives
figured.
A little bit of flair,
You're adding it.
Yeah, exactly.
I got it. Okay,
that's what people know it's a thing.
Yeah. I'm right. No, I got that, but that's what I thought you were doing. But I wanted to make sure the audience understood as well. I'm not changing anything. I'm not changing anything. To be clear, the only actual change I'm making is the mandated ban on betting the Jags until, did I say Halloween? Because
when they get back from their international game.
Oh no, right, until they get back from England, until they go to England, or they get back from England, one of the two. This process of stayaways, be careful, the whole thing that I do where I sort every game has served me well for years and years and years. So I'm not going to all of a sudden change it because, and by the way, as you know, to misquote Jay-Z a bit, for a lot of people, our down years would be some people's career years. A lot of folks who do this would kill for their worst year ever to be basically dead at 500. So even in a terrible year, we were, once the playoffs were included, right at 500 for the season and then just lost the VIG. Now, before we, Damonza, get to the actual games, we'll go ahead and do the preseason bets recap part, and then we'll do something else.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look back at your preseason bets in case anybody's still trying to lock in their futures before kickoff. Were there any late additions? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine, pal. There's no late additions. I'll just run through them real quick. And again, you can follow me on Twitter if you wanted to see it. You can also, right now, it's on the screen, all of the bets with the unit size and the VIG. I'm not going to, so if you want to see the real VIG and all the units, all of that, that's more of a reading than a listening thing. I'll just tell you what the bets are. The overs for win totals I'm on. Chiefs 11.5, Bears 8.5, Rams 8.5, Broncos 5.5. The unders I'm on. Eagles 10.5, Jets 9.5, Raiders 6.5, Giants 6.5. The division championship bets I'm on. The Bears plus 340, the Rams plus 330, the Bengals plus 165, and then essentially a combo bet of the Eagles aren't winning the NFC East. And the way I did it was I bet the Cowboys at plus 175 and Washington at plus 1100. And then one division bet parlay, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, the 3 best quarterbacks in the conference, the 3 teams that have had the most success in the conference over the last 5 years, all to win their division. That's basically 10-1. Miss playoff bets. To miss the playoffs, the Jets at plus 140, the Eagles at plus 230, the Dolphins at plus 130. My favorite bet of the year, the Giants, Raiders, Steelers, Saints, all to miss the playoffs at 2-1. A little flyer bet, Chiefs, Bills, Rams, Bears, all to make the playoffs at 7-1. And then a long shot flyer, Packers, Jets, Eagles, all to miss at 17-1. And then, of course, a Bears-Chiefs Super Bowl at 66-1 and a Chiefs over Bears Super Bowl at 95-1. Now, before we get to our picks, I want to quickly go through the 11 games that I'm not picking and tell you if I have a lean or a feel on it, okay? So, Titans-Bears. Bears are 4.5-point favorites. Rookie quarterback first start laying 4.5 points. Don't love it. I also am not going to bet Will Levis on the road, so I'm just staying away from that one. Steelers-Falcons. Falcons laying 3.5. I like Atlanta this year. I don't like Pittsburgh at all, but I'm not going to. The smart bet is probably Tomlin, a little Arthur Smith revenge on his former employer, but I really don't think Russell Wilson is a competent quarterback at this point. If I had to bet a side, I would have bet the Steelers just because Tomlin getting more than a field goal, but I'm staying away from it. I know this will shock no one, but Jags at Dolphins, Dolphins getting 3.5. The Dolphins injury report is already 10 guys long. It looks like Jalen Ramsey might not play. I'm getting more than a field goal. I absolutely love Jacksonville. However, self-imposed ban. I'm staying away from it. Texans at Colts. The Texans laying 2.5 on the road. Just road team, divisional game favored. The Anthony Richardson factor scares me. And the fact that Vegas is begging you to bet the Texans. They're like, it's not. You don't even have to lay a full 3 points. That is a vintage. Stay away from me. Vikings at Giants. Vikings laying 1.5 on the road. Listen, I'm not betting on Daniel Jones getting less than a field goal. I'm also not laying points with Sam Darnold on the road. I'm staying away. Panthers at Saints. The Saints are a 3.5-point favorite. This is one of my weaknesses. Panthers Saints. There is not a single game on the schedule I am less interested in watching, so I'm just flatly staying away. I don't want to have anything to do with that game. Cardinals at Bills. The Bills are 6.5-point favorites. I think that line is perfect, so that's a stay away game for me entirely. I think the line is just right. Raiders at Chargers. Chargers laying 3. I lean Chargers there, but it also feels like they're just that the Herbert injury. I want to see him play before I bet on him. I'm also not betting on Gardner Minshew on the road, so that's a stay away. This Broncos at Seahawks, Damonza, I stared at it for a long time. I really like Denver getting the points. I know that'll surprise people. But I think Sean Payton. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Seattle's favored by 5.5. So I really liked Denver getting 5.5 to rookie head coach in Seattle. I think Sean Payton's going to have the full training wheels on Bo Nix and get a competent offense out of it. However, the Mike McDonald factor of those exotic blitzes and what he was able to do with Baltimore, him coming over to Seattle now as the head coach and being able to throw that at Bo Nix in week 1 scared me. But I did like Denver plus 5.5. And if I were a teaser guy, Denver teasing them up to plus 11.5, getting it through the 6, 7, 8, and 10 would be moderately attractive to me. Commanders at Bucks. The Bucks are laying 3.5. I think that line's exactly right. Jets at Niners. The Niners are laying 4.5. Again, this is maybe a weakness as a gambler a bit. I just do kind of want to be able to watch this game totally unmolested by a bet because I have so much take equity in if we're being honest, kind of, both of these teams underachieving. So that was a stay away for me. But there's my leans on all those games. the most attractive teaser legs for me would be the following. The Packers going from +2.5 to +8.5 would be attractive to me. You're getting them. I always think in terms of 6-point teasers, Damonza. I know you're more of a 7-point teaser guy, but I think in terms of 6-point teasers, but just for me and for the audience. So the Packers would be an attractive teaser leg. The Bengals from -8.5 down to -2.5 would be a very attractive teaser leg to me. Getting them against the Patriots to just have to win by a field goal. That one to me, they're playing the Patriots. That one to me is at least semi-intriguing. I already mentioned, did I mention Denver? Denver is a teaser leg, potentially getting them up to +11.5. And that's probably it as far as, for me, the super attractive teaser legs. And now before we get to Damonza's teasers. Well, I don't know who you've picked. I'm just saying, just gut reaction. I know that is your game, but I do think it's interesting if I unknowingly, because I haven't seen your pick, if I just say the legs that I think are intriguing, and then we find out if we're on opposite sides or same side or whatever it is. But before we do that, my 5 actual picks of the week, a couple of them might have been revealed a bit in the teasers I like, but go ahead.
So first off, you've got Kansas City -3 versus Baltimore. Could have seen that one coming.
Yeah, I mean, well, under Andy Reid, the Chiefs are 9-2 in season openers. Mahomes is 5-1 in week 1 and 15-4 in September. I think it is a little insulting that the Chiefs are only 3-point favorites. This should be 3.5. I'm not saying it should be huge favorites, but they're at home. It is a little insulting that you're telling me you think Chiefs Baltimore on a neutral field is a coin flip.
Vegas saw the Derrick Henry Kansas City stats. And they
maybe that's what it is. Lamar as an underdog against the spread the last 3 seasons is 7-0. But I think we don't do totals on this show. I like over 46.5 more than I like Kansas City -3, but I don't bet totals in general. Kansas City -3, Chiefs laser show offense returns. That's my first bet of the year, first game of the year. Next.
All right, next you have Green Bay +2.5 at Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Green Bay is going to win the game. And, I mean, it says at Philly, but obviously it's a neutral site in Brazil. But I just think Green Bay is going to win. I think Philly has had half a dozen players complain about going to Brazil. I don't know what. No one has explained to me adequately why early in the year the defense is going to be fixed. Maybe late in the year when those rookies they drafted in the first and second round in the secondary get their feet underneath them. But I don't think Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in week 1 are going to be super impact players. The Phillies defense was brutal all of last year. I know they brought in Vic Fangio, but he got run out on a rail in Miami. Green Bay, on the other hand, has as good of vibes going into this year as any team in the league. They have all those receiving threats that I think really can punish the Eagles' weak back 7. Hurts, by the way, 10-18-1 against the spread in road or neutral site games. That's the worst of any quarterback since 2020. Hurts is also 6-14-1 against the spread as a favorite away from home. Matt LaFleur is a covering machine the last 5 years, 53-37. And Philly, again, has lost 6 of their last 7 straight against the spread. I know that was last year. I like Green Bay in this spot a lot. I think Green Bay is not as good as a lot of people think they are, but in this spot, I believe in them, and I think Philly is the single most overvalued team in the NFL. People have just washed away 2 months of football. 2 months of football. All right, you seem to agree with me on that one, Damonza.
I appreciate you having a little bit of faith in them, but yeah, no, I definitely think they'll win as well. I feel very good about that pick. This next pick, a lot of points. But
okay, all right. What's the next one?
the next one, Cincinnati -8.5 versus New England.
All right, here's the thing on this. To me, this is simply a question of, can the Bengals get to 20 points? Okay? New England's not getting to 13. New England is capped out in this game at 10 points. Capped out. Their offensive line might be the worst in the NFL. Their starting quarterback might be the worst in the NFL. They have a rookie head coach. And so it is Jacoby Brissett on the road against a Bengals defense that needs to prove last year was an aberration. I understand that the Bengals historically stink early in the year. Burrow's 2-6 against the spread the first 2 weeks of the year, 36-14 after the first 2 weeks of the year. Teams that are 6.5 point. Well, hold on. I don't know how to read that stat, so I'm going to throw that one out. I know what it says, but I don't know if it's right, so just ignore it. Burrow historically has been great against the spread, but that's not what this is. The fact that this is simply that I do not think New England is going to have a functional NFL offense. And so I think that if Cincinnati gets to 20, they cover. And what is the total in this game? Again, I'm not betting totals, but it's 40.5. So I got to do quick math on the fly here. So that means Vegas thinks this game is basically 24-16 is what they're telling us. And I'm telling you, New England's not getting to 16 points. And so I don't love laying huge numbers. I don't mind laying big numbers here. And so Cincinnati -8.5 against New England. Let's go to the you said it's a lot of points. I just think New England might be the worst team in the entire NFL this year.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking of Cincinnati, not being known for getting off.
It's
great
going
starts.
to be everyone's survivor pick. Everyone's survivor pick is going to be Cincinnati. I mean, that is
it's a smart bet
without a doubt.
It's
it's just going to be everyone's pick. All right, next.
So next you've got Dallas +2.5 at Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't believe in the Browns this year. Their defense last year was elite at home, and this is obviously in Cleveland. And this is, and bad on the road. But defense doesn't tend to carry over year to year as much as offense. And they still have offensive line injuries in Cleveland. And I think Deshaun Watson is cooked.
I'm shocked that Cleveland's favored in this game. Sorry, that kind of threw me off.
It's because they won 11 games last year with 5 different quarterbacks. That's why.
Yes.
But I don't know that we can expect the defense to be quite as dominant, and I don't think Cleveland's offense is going to be able to deal with the Dallas defensive front, Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence. So the Cowboys are starting 2 rookie offensive linemen against this Cleveland front. That is concerning, but I think Dak and CeeDee Lamb will be a great connection once again. I'm getting points. I think Dallas is better than Cleveland, and I think that even if Dallas is not as good as they were last year, I think Deshaun Watson could just be finished. And so Dallas +2.5 is one I like a lot. As I mentioned before, I really like that as a teaser leg. Getting Dallas all the way up to +8.5 I think is attractive. All right, last one.
Last one, you got the Rams +3.5 at Detroit.
Yeah, so I just think this is a field goal game. I think Detroit could win this game. Don't get me wrong. But I just think this is 27-24, 30-27, and I'm getting the half point. I think the Rams are as good as the Lions right now. Now, I'm bullish on the Rams if they stay healthy. That's obviously a huge if, and Stafford's elbow and all that stuff. But it's week 1. So in week 1, these two teams both at full strength. I think the Rams obviously can win this game. And I don't think either one's blowing the other one out. So I'm getting the extra half point. McVay, the Rams are 6-1 straight up and against the spread in week 1. They cover by an average of 9 points. Stafford, I thought, played great in that wild card game that Detroit won, but they won by a point. Now, Goff is great in openers, but a lot of that is when he was with McVay. And now this is the last kind of against the spread note for the Lions, but I think this one can be misleading. The Lions are 35-16 against the spread over the last 3 years, which is the best in the NFL. I personally am going to throw that out entirely because the Lions have been so great against the spread the last 3 years because people did not believe in them yet. Now, I think people believe in them a little too much. They're a very popular pick to make or win the Super Bowl. So now I understand it's different teams, but this game last year would have been, in fact, let me just check. Hold on. Rams at Lions playoff game. I'm just trying to check what the point spread. So last year in the playoffs, it was a 3.5 point line. I was going to say I thought it would have been 3, but it was a 3.5 point line. So I just don't think that you're going to get line value with the Lions right now. Again, like I said, I think the Rams can win, and it's a field goal game in either way. So that's where I land. All right, Damonza. So there's the 5 picks. The 5 picks to week 1. Kansas City -3. Green Bay +2.5. Cincinnati -8.5. Dallas +2.5. And the Rams +3.5. Damonza, you know what that looks like to me?
You starting off 5-0?
You know what it looks like. It looks like 5-0.
5-0?
It's been a long time since we got a 5-0, but it's looking like 5-0. What's your teaser looking like?
All right, so before we start doing this, that's pretty cool.
Wow,
I just want to
I like that.
come out and say it's going to get to about week 8. I'm going to have not lost a teaser. I don't need anybody hitting me up and being like, Damonza's got some inside information with the NFL. The game's rigged. He knows too much. I'm starting off with 2 teams. This is what's going to happen now that I'm able to
can I
pick
just
2
say
teams.
this real quick?
Say it.
Can I just say this real quick?
Yeah.
I will be beyond thrilled if going into week 8 you're 4-3. That you're saying 7-0. But if we can get 4-3 going into week 8, I will have so much immense pride. Anything better than 4-3 is out of this world. But okay, Damonza's saying 7-0. All right, now go. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying where my expectations are versus where your expectations are. All right, what's the teaser?
It's a 2-team 7-pointer, -150. We're teasing Green Bay from +2.5 to 9.5 for at Philly, and we're teasing Washington from +3.5 to +10.5 at Tampa. I wanted to bet Commanders straight up money line to win that game, so I felt very comfortable putting the money on the teaser. I think Jaden Daniels is going to get that offensive rookie of the year. So yeah, that's the week 1 teaser. I didn't want to throw Kansas City. I wanted to do something with Ravens, Kansas City, but teasing Kansas City meant teasing across the 0, or it meant teasing the Ravens up to 10.
Correct.
And I just didn't betting against Patrick Mahomes.
No, these are good numbers. These are good numbers. A rookie quarterback in his first start on the road is a little nerve-wracking, just to be honest. It's just a little nerve-wracking, but you're getting 10.5 points. Right. I obviously love the Green Bay side of it. I'm going to give, you're teasing across as many key numbers as is possible. I'm going to give this teaser an A-.
A-? I thought it was going to be B+ because of the rookie quarterback situation on the road. All right.
Well, no, but you're getting 10.5 points. And Tampa's not a juggernaut. And I do think that there's also, even if it is getting away from Jaden early, on this, there's a lot of backdoor cover potential at the 10.5. They're going to let him keep throwing. They're going to want to get him as much experience as possible. So even down 17 points, you're alive.
100%.
They're not going to be like, just run the clock out. So, yeah, give it an A-. I like it. All right, what's the offer this week?
The offer, we are calling this one the It's Really Happening parlay, your best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs to beat the Ravens straight up, the trendy Cardinals to upset the Bills straight up, the Jaguars to upset the Dolphins straight up, and Caleb and the Bears to cover 4.5, the biggest spread in their favor since 2014. All of this is at a plus 2,740. How much are you in for? Or are you in?
I'm going to turn this down because I don't think the Cardinals are beating the Bills. I also am not really anti-Bills this year because people have overcorrected on the Bills, and now they're a little underrated. I have the Bills winning the division. They're not even the favorites to win their division. So with respect, I decline the week 1 offer. Quick break, right back, answer some listener questions next. What's right? Welcome back in. What's right with Nick Wright, Damonza? Let's go through a handful of listener questions here.
-4 says, who will be missed more, Jason Kelce or Aaron Donald?
So it's really close. I'm going to say Kelce because of his pre-snap job of calling out the protections. I think they were both still the best or the second best in the world at their position when they retired, and so they will be missed. But Aaron, as a D lineman, less responsibility pre-snap. Kelce did all of the protections for Jalen pre-snap because he was so great at it. So I'm going to say Jason Kelce. Next.
Scott Frazier, if Rodgers doesn't get the Jets to the playoffs, do they keep him? And if not, where do you think he goes, or does he retire?
No, I think probably retires. I think that if the Jets are awesome and they don't win I think if the Jets win the Super Bowl, he's retiring. And I think if they're mediocre or bad, he's retiring. The only scenario I see where he comes back is if they're good, make the playoffs, go on a run, but come up just short. And he's like, man, next year we can do it. I think all the other outcomes, he's probably retiring. Next.
Torrey Spears, is there a college football quarterback you like as the next Caleb Williams, threatening to get on Mahomes' mountain?
Well, I'll answer that along with ask Kevin Gillen's question.
Kevin Gillen, Nick, score prediction for Nevada or Nebraska?
Nebraska,
versus
Colorado.
Versus Colorado. Is Mini Mahomes gonna go off?
Dylan Raiola is the answer for the quarterback who could show up at some point on Mahomes Mountain. Number 2 recruit in the country, highest ranked recruit in the history of Nebraska football. He trains with Patrick. He tries to look like Patrick. He tries to play like Patrick. And he's going to light Deion Sanders' team on fire this weekend. So score prediction, 34-21. 34-24, something like that, Nebraska. So, yeah, I like Raiola a lot. I like him a lot. All right, let's do these last two, and then we got to go.
Jeffrey Petrino, hey, Nick, do you think it's possible that Josh Allen wins MVP this year if his tight end group is very good to great and his rookie wide receiver can be at least decent?
Yeah, listen, voters have been dying to give Josh Allen an MVP the last few years. This year, he could actually be set up in a position where it's like, wow, look at what he did without all those weapons. He's going to have to be an offense unto himself. So, yeah, I think Josh, if they win 12 games, which I don't think they're going to win 12, but I do think they're going to win 11, yeah, I think he's a very viable MVP candidate. All right, next.
Austin R. Hey, Nick, with the NFL starting up, we're bound to have some newer listeners who may not be familiar with the right lexicon. Would you consider taking a few to explain stuff like 3 opinion types, etc.?
Well, the 3 opinion types is category 1, category 2, and category 3. Category 1 is instantly correct. So, like, if the Chiefs score 30 points and beat the Ravens tonight to Category 1 take. I said it was going to happen and instantly happened. Category 2 is eventually correct. Usually people doubt it in the, shortly after I say it, and then eventually I'm proven correct. And Category 3 is clearly, incontrovertibly wrong. Whether instantly wrong or eventually wrong, flatly wrong. A Category 3 example would be if Brock Purdy ends up being awesome for his whole career. He doesn't have to be awesome for his whole career. But for years, and even without the Niners, Avengers, I've been striding on that. And if I were wrong, I maybe should create almost like a glossary of the different things we say and what the definitions are. Don't have time to do that right now. I've got to get to the studio. Chiefs Ravens kicks off in just under 9 hours, and I truly cannot wait. Damonza, great job. Good luck to everyone on the bets. Talk to you guys soon. What's right? Hey, thanks for watching. If you're still here, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes. After you've done that, one more favor, go to your favorite audio platform of choice and subscribe there as well. Don't forget, we're live every Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern-ish. 10:35, 10:40, it sometimes changes, but that's why you hit the bell. You hit the bell so you're notified. You subscribe so we can get to 200,000 followers. We're right around 150,000. We'd love to get to 200,000, get Damonza another plaque. So like, subscribe, rate, send a rating too. Do all that cool stuff. Thanks, guys.